I would like to thank the Basel Institute on Governance and Siemens for their kind invitation to speak with you this morning. Before talking about civil society and collective action, I would like to share with you a reflection on political power and what it is for. And I think that one of the main missions of political power is to transform public money in public goods while making sure that the value of those public goods is higher than the value of the public money spent. And that's creating societal value, creating value for civil society. What is civil society? So civil society is the ensemble of all the people who do not have access to political or economic power. So almost all the people, and those people are impacted by the decisions of public power, good or bad decisions, creation or destruction of net societal value. And you are creating societal value when you are building schools, hospitals, investing in healthcare, investing in roads. So that's the way for the holders of political power to behave well and to behave to the benefit of civil society. Now, we all know that there is another way, right? Which consists for a number of political leaders to destroy societal value. So instead of transforming public money in public goods of higher value, they transform public money in dysfunctional public goods, and the difference is being shared between them and the providers of those poor goods, or they directly embezzle, steal that money. And they are destroying societal value. And one of the consequences of these wrongdoings is that in many countries, you have a market for political power. You have a market for political power. So that you have candidates who are elected after electoral campaigns, which were financed by some companies, businesses, wealthy people, and then once in power, they destroy societal value and they share the profit between themselves and the companies that finance their campaigns. All right? And the instrument for doing that is secrecy, secret deals between those political leaders and businesses or wealthy people. And we know that it destroys societal value, it destroys also economic value, which is completely linked, it destroys values for all businesses which are interested in a country's economy. So that what we have to do is to fight against this secrecy, and that is what collective action is about. Collective action is about sharing information, maybe not every information between the companies, but sharing commonly accepted rules of the game, like in the famous prisoner's dilemma, when prisoners have an interest in talking to each other against an abusive police. So that you have these collective actions, which you perfectly know on a public tender, or in an industry segment, or nationwide, or even within the law. But these collective actions that were invented 20, 25 years ago, they do not concern only the companies and the governments, right? They have to include civil society, because if you really want to break with secrecy, you have to include civil society. You have to include the people who are impacted by those investments, good or bad investments, by the political power. So that there is no, to our view, to Transparency International, there is no meaningful, truly meaningful collective action without the inclusion of civil society, so that civil society can monitor the collective action and make sure that secrecy has disappeared and that you really have net positive value creation for society, for civil society. And this goes even beyond the collective action, this importance of breaking with a culture of secrecy. It also requires publication of all public contracts, because you have collective action that leads to a public contract, but then the terms of this public contract, what has been actually signed, needs to be known to the people, because those public contracts are signed on behalf of the people. It is also true of public debt, of all the debt agreements that are being concluded by the countries. It also touches the whistleblower protection. Whistleblowers are individuals that within systems of power are fighting against this culture of secrecy that has governed the exercise of power in Europe for 5 centuries, and that has been exported, unfortunately, by Europe to the rest of the world. So that is really a cultural change that we are aiming at. It is true at the national level, it is true as well at the global level, because what we are fighting against is a global economy of corruption. There is a global economy of corruption. With this public money embezzled, these bribes paid, that leave the global south, to take the wrong routes, the routes of the past, up north through offshore centers, through poorly regulated jurisdictions, through even now cryptocurrency platforms. And then they end up being invested in a few countries, in Switzerland, in France, in Germany, to talk about the closest countries here. Also, obviously, UK, US, Canada, as unveiled by the brilliant and snow-washing coalition. So we have this global economy of corruption. And this global economy of corruption retroacts on the local level, because this money, by leaving the countries, creates a vacuum, creates public money is missing, public services are dysfunctioning, so that everyone with a small piece of political power is abusing this power and sells poorly functioning services to a desperate population which is in an urgent need of those services and pays bribes, monetary or sexual bribes. So you have this, we have to have this holistic view of a global economy of corruption. And the problem that we have, the challenge to all of us, is that our political planet is fragmented. We are confronted with a global challenge, and we have a deeply divided political planet. So that we need global civil society with local ramification, and this circulation of information that, for example, within Transparency International, we are trying to have within our chapters, circulation of information, best practices, examples, and so on and so forth. We also need global collective action like COST, which is represented here, the EITI. So that's very important. We also need to think globally about those collective actions. Now I would like to conclude with a few challenges. There are 3. Reach out to all companies, reach out to the right people within a company, and achieving the ethical transformation of the corporation. So reach out to all companies. We need to reach out probably more and better to the financial sector. I guess there may be some representatives of the financial sector here in the room. Yes, and raise your hands. Oh, there are 2 persons. So we need to reach out to the, thank you, first of all, thank you, and we need to be better at that. Because the financial sector is obviously key to addressing this global economy of corruption. And not only the large international banks, but also the asset managers, all those below the radar screen. So we need to reach out to them. I won't expand more on that, but that's very important. We need to reach out to the state-owned enterprises. A lot of representatives of the state-owned enterprises in the room. Thank you very much for being here. We have 1 person. Okay, so we need to reach out more to the state-owned enterprises. It's very clear. Thank you for being here with us. The state-owned enterprises play a very important role in their country's economy. I don't want to challenge the existence of the state-owned enterprises. I want to challenge the abuse of those state-owned enterprises. The fact that in some countries, a number of countries, they are exempted from the rules of public tender, so that they can do whatever they want in terms of concluding public contracts, so that political leaders can conclude contracts with them and pump the money from the state-owned enterprises. Or they are being used to finance political campaigns, right, of the incumbent political leaders. So that's a use of the state-owned enterprises, which unfortunately very often are enjoying the best of both worlds, the flexibility of the private sector and the opacity of the public sector. We also need to reach out to the small and medium enterprises. I think that there are more representatives of the small and medium enterprises here in the room. We need to reach out to them also through unions, to industry associations, chambers of commerce. For obvious reasons, they are more difficult to reach out to, they are less equipped than the others, and we need to reach out to them also through the supply chain of the big companies. Now, within the corporations, we need to reach out to all the people. So there are a number of people from corporations, and thank you for being here. We need to reach out, and you need to reach out with our help, with the help of civil society, to the people on the field, the people who want to have a contract, who want to be successful in a country. And then, if they are confronted with corruption, in most cases, let's be optimistic, in most cases, they will walk out of the contract of the country, and they will explain that to their hierarchy. And if they are in a well-managed company, let's stay optimistic, the hierarchy will say, fine, you were right. But then what will happen to the career of these individuals who decided not to win a contract, who decided to leave a country? Won't their career suffer? So we need to have ethical principles that have to be more within the company and instilled in the processes through which we evaluate the performance of all the people who are working within the company. And this ethical transformation, it has also to manifest itself in the relationship between the companies and the external world, and that will be my last point. We very often say, and rightly say, that too many governments are harassing civil society organizations. It is unfortunately the case of companies as well, in a number of countries which are harassing civil society organizations, using and abusing lawsuits against them. You can't participate in a collective action while having this behavior. So I think it's very clear to all of us in this room, we need to have an ethical behavior and a mutual respect between governments, companies, civil society organizations. That is what we are here for, and that is how we'll defeat together the global economy of corruption. Thank you all for your attention.